And a very good evening. It is just gone 8 o'clock. Sorry, we're late. 1 minute past 8 p.m. here in the UK. And it is 1 minute past 3 a.m. in Western Australia. I hope I've got that right. Somewhere near Perth. And we're joined today by a very special guest, Mr. Ranz Adamson. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Oh, really good. Thanks for having me.
No, seriously, thank you for getting up at this ungodly hour to join us. We hope that it's worth your while. But yeah, thanks ever so much. It's good where we can kind of get people on from all around the world, and you're the furthest away we've ever had. So that's really cool. So thanks ever so much. Yeah. Cryss will be with us, he says, a little bit later on, so we'll grab him in a bit, and we'll come and talk to you a little bit more in detail as well, in between our news topics and everything that we have lined up for today. But first of all, let's just go up north to Cheshire. Is it Cheshire?
Yes.
Thought so. Yeah.
I had to think then.
Yeah. He doesn't know where am I. To our illustrious leader, Mr. Ben Simpson. How are you?
Good evening. I'm all right. Yeah.
You're looking all very dark and moody there.
I know. Yeah. It was too bright with the big light on, but it's a bit too too mysterious like this. I'll get it right for next week.
Do you know what? It's like week by week we see that room behind you just blossom and grow, and it's looking great, mate. It really is. So
yeah,
good stuff.
It's getting there now. Yeah.
And you've got a proper microphone and everything this week.
Yes.
Look at that.
I tried it last week, if you remember, but I didn't have the routing right.
Exactly, it wasn't working. So there you go. Yeah. But no, it looks great. Have you been up to much this week apart from the studio, or has it just all been that?
It's just really finishing off the studio. Just working out little technical issues. Like I spoke to you about the WIDI thing that found a good solution for one thing for me, one problem. But yeah, it's pretty much there now. Just a couple of little tiny bits, but
there's always something. I'm sat here.
It's not gonna change much from this now.
I changed stuff around yesterday over in that corner and put all my rack gear in a different place. So I need a proper rack for my rack gear. So yeah, I need to. You never finish. You never finish this stuff. Good to have you, mate. Good to see you. So let's go and have a quick chat with our guest before we get into the news topic. So he is the host of his own show, which occurs at, certainly in my time zone, 3 p.m. UK time, and goes on for a couple of hours each Saturday. And very similar sort of thing to this, but obviously much better because he's got the proper gear and shit. And so it's a really good show, but he does that on a Saturday, and he's agreed to get up at stupid o'clock because he's based out in Western Australia. It's Mr. Ranz Adamson. Welcome to our show, sir.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome to join you guys. Actually, it's a show that I always usually watch on a replay. So
oh, well, that's good.
I don't get to watch the show live. It's actually quite a treat.
Good. Well, we hope that we make your efforts worthwhile today, and we've got some interesting topics where I think we can all get some good stuff. I know that you probably discussed this. I was saying pre-show that on a Sunday we kind of get the arse end of all the topics. Everything's been discussed by other people, but maybe we can put our own little spin on it. We'll come and have a chat with you a little bit later and just talk about what you do and how you do it, and your website and your YouTube channel and everything like that. And I'm sure that everybody in the chat room is already aware of who you are, because as ever with all of these things, it's usually the regular crowd that we see in our chat room, in your chat room, in the Sonic State chat room, in Jamie's chat room. It's a nice little community, and it's very lovely that they do actually kind of come over and share their patronage. That's the word I was looking for. So hello to people like Asio Head, Pret Lemmings, Wagyu, Sasquatch, Mike Delic, Andrew Brooks. He said he'd be here. Get 70 Music, Sasquatch, I think we said, JP Page 2, Atto Z, Native VS is there, and all the regulars. If I've missed anyone, Blade Runner is there. If I've missed you, I apologise. I'm kind of whizzing through and trying to run this show at the same time, so there you go, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Right, shall we get to it, gentlemen? We've had some interesting news items for this week, and I say that they've probably been covered to death by lots of them, because one or two are quite big and important. So let's kick off with Roland, because we've got a number of things from them. So this week, shall I say, they announced 3 different products, all not sort of based around, but kind of linked somehow to the TR606. So first of all, let's have a look. We've got the TR606 in software now. So the return of the Underground Classic. No, did anybody actually want a 606? I never really heard huge amounts of clamouring for a 606 until Behringer did one, and now they're all doing it. But that's the first thing, is the software version, which is available to everybody that subscribes with the cloud. Then you have this, must be the first new boutique synth for I don't know how long, the TR06, so it's like a physical version, so that's available. And then there is the TR6S, which isn't really anything to do with the 606, but I guess they felt it was nice to kind of launch it in one place. And this is this new kind of rhythm performer. It's like a mini version of their TR8S. Similar kind of concept with the faders and the buttons at the bottom, all multicoloured. So, Mr. Simpson, what do you think, first of all? I mean, take any one of these 3. Which these takes your fancy? Do any of them take your fancy? What are your thoughts on this?
I struggle with drum machines anyway, like I've said previously on the show. Like, I've never actually found the right fit. But I've tried the Roland Cloud 606, and that sounded pretty good, to be honest. It was. I mean, it's a bit of a one-trick pony in a way. It just does a very kind of specific thing, but then so does the hardware, So it does what it's supposed to, and it sounds, from what I can remember, pretty authentic. I used to use a real 606 back in the day, when I think I've mentioned this in the past, but we somehow acquired a 303 and a 606. And we threw the 303 away, more or less, not literally, but we couldn't make any sense of that, and we used the drum machine quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's quite nostalgic for me. I like the sound. I don't know what it's offering really, sound-wise, that you probably couldn't get from samples, but it's got the authentic programming system, and it's got quite a few new features in there as well. There's quite a bit of tweaking that can be done on the sounds, and it's not bad. I don't really know much about the other ones, but I presume that the TR6S, is it? That's it's going to be like a lesser spec version of the 8, isn't it?
I think
that. I've not really used the 8 much, but because from what I've heard of it, it seems like quite a powerful bit of kit.
Because it has models of the 808, the 909, the 606, and the 707, and more besides. Plus, it has the FM sound engine, so it really is just kind of like a cut down, almost Volca size unit. But listening to it, it's quite nice, and it's a nice compact little thing.
How much is that retailing for?
That's a very good question. Poor research on my part.
Sorry,
Ranz, have you
in it?
Did you get a price on that? Does anybody know what the price might be?
The 6S is about the same price as the MC101.
Okay.
And the boutique is about the same price as the other boutiques that we've had.
So that was about €350, wasn't it? Yeah, something like that. Because I mean, that's the one that I don't know. It was their call for a hardware 606. I guess that, these companies make these decisions based on marketing, I guess, a lot of the time. I suppose now now that you can have a TB03 and a TR06, you've got this modern version of those classics. And of course, this is Roland doing Not Chasing Analog Ghosts. Of course, we have to get that one in there. But yeah, I mean, from my point of view, the TR6, all these different bloody names. The TR6S looks the most interesting of the three because it is this kind of multi-sound little rhythm box, whereas the others are very firmly fixed in that 606 style, which was let's be honest, it wasn't the most varied of drum machines. It had a niche, I think. When I hear it, I kind of think, oh yeah, that kind of reminds me I heard it in some house track or back in the early 90s when I was stoned out of my head. But it's I don't know. So Ranz, what are your thoughts on this little trio? Any of these take your fancy? Do you think it's a waste of time or what?
Yeah, I mean I think the original 606 was kind of it came out around about the same time as the 303, so it was kind of like the companion to the 303. It was similar look, similar feel. I never really gelled with the sequencing interface on it. I didn't think at the time when they first came out that it was anything that intuitive. But a lot of people liked the sound of it. It was, it just kind of reminded me of the organ type drum machines that you had in the era. And so it was a bit clinical sounding. Obviously, there wasn't really much to do with drum synthesis in there. It was more generating of tones, and then you can just sequence them really. So but other than that, it actually sounds good. Obviously, it's Roland trying to probably get back into that sort of cash grab market because it's obviously, Behringer have taken the lead with bringing out theirs, and Roland have gone, oh, maybe we should see if we can make some money out of it too. I guess the good side of it is that that they have actually reintroduced another ACB based technology.
Yeah, true.
And they said that they probably weren't going to, so that kind of surprised me. Or that the Zencore stuff is all their big rage at the moment, but a lot of people were saying, well, you guys shouldn't drop the ACB because it's actually really good. A lot of people can't pick the difference between the original analog stuff in the mix, so that side of it's good. And I think I don't know, like the 6S, I don't think has really got anything to do with the 606 other than the fact that it's got 606 sounds in it.
Yeah.
It's more just like a little mini version of the 8S. And the good thing about that box is the form factor is pretty cool. It's a nice little small battery-powered form factor. The fact that you can have drum synthesis in it as opposed to it being a sample-based drum machine, which is going to be, I think, something that a lot of people will like. And I reckon there's a market for that. I think that one will probably be their more successful out of that, out of these products that are launched. A lot of people are sort of thinking that it will be something that they'd be interested in getting, which is surprising that I hear that. But yeah, so for those who are thinking that the 6S is based on the 606, it's not really. It's more a bit of everything, and it's even got the FM stuff in there that's on the 8S as well. There's not a lot that the 8S and the 6S don't have, in comparison. So it's almost identical in terms of what it can do, other than a few tracks missing and a few screens and things like that. It's pretty similar. So I think that's probably the better one to go for.
So it's the more innovative of the three. But as you say, the 606 was this. I think they actually did come out at the same time, and the prime objective of the 303 and the 606 were as accompaniment machines to people that played guitars or pianos, and it was just here's a bass and some drums, and it was almost as if they lifted those from kind of the home organ realm. And it was only towards the end of the decade when the kids started getting hold of these things at junkyard sales or Goodwill stores or whatever, and picking them up for peanuts, that they thought, oh, what does this do? And they really kind of pushed the envelope, so to speak. I said, I hate that kind of corporate bullshit language. Pushing the envelope and flying that flag, see how it blows, throw it against the walls. Awful stuff. But yeah, it develops a niche sound, and people like that. But certainly, I think the is it the TD6, the Behringer one? That seems to be quite popular for the price as well. I mean, you can't really go wrong. And this one, I mean, they say I've got Roland Cloud, so if I want those sounds, I'll use it there. And I was playing around with it this afternoon and just thought, it doesn't really do much, does it? It's pretty. It's not. You can't tweak the hell out of the sounds like you can with. It hasn't got the filter controls, and it hasn't got tuning and like the 808, for example, or the 909. So it's less fun, but I suppose if that's your bag, it's interesting. Well, there you go. That's Roland.
It's handy for me if I find out that a particular track use that and I'm really creating it. Then I've got it there.
Absolutely.
I don't have to go and hire it or anything. It's just in my Roland Cloud.
Yeah.
So
the little effects that they had across the top on that were interesting, though.
Yes.
On the 60, what is it? The TR06, I should say, the Boutique. And I actually didn't realise I had it until I watched a video by Dr. Mix, which I don't usually watch, things like unboxing and stuff, but I just happened to be bored that day. And here he is tweaking these little knobs on the top right-hand corner, and I was quite surprised.
Were they on the original?
No, I don't think so.
No, because it's like an overdrive, isn't it? And then there's a delay.
Overdrive and delay, yeah.
Yeah, and they've got trigger ins and outputs as well. Excuse me, and outputs as well, which I'm not sure were on the original or not. And of course, the connectivity is much improved. But yeah, if that's your thing, then I'm sure it floats some people's boats. We'll do this next one because it kind of ties in a bit with Roland and Roland Cloud, although it's not them specifically. So this, I thought, this came out of nowhere, as far as I was aware, and I thought it was an interesting choice, seeing as there already is a Roland software version of the Juno 106. This is Cherry Audio, who have released the DCO 106 as a plugin, and I believe that they already had a Juno oscillator as part of their, is it the voltage modular, software modular thing? But this is, it's brazen. It looks exactly like a Juno 106 in terms of its styling. I thought, do you know what? It's because it's only at the moment it's £25 or €25. It's €25 down from like a regular price of 40, I think. So it's like half price. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? UK, I suppose that's £20. And I thought, well, I've already got a 106 in the cloud. Do I really, am I going to spend money on this and not really use it? However, Mr. Simpson, I am hoping, because he promised he would when we had a chat earlier today, has downloaded it. Yay!
I did download it.
So go on, tell us. What do you think of this, and how does it compare?
Well, did you hear that?
I did. It's not Vicky.
The cat didn't like it. Well, I downloaded it. It's £25,
right?
And that's nothing really, is it?
I suppose.
And I used to have two 106s, so and I've got the Roland Cloud, the Cloud one, but downloaded it, put it on. I thought this sounds really good. This is all right for £25. It's brilliant value. It's really good. And I was playing around. I was going through presets. I was messing about with the controls. I did notice one little issue that I'll talk about in a minute. But it generally sounded like a 106, and I was quite impressed. So then I thought I'd try it side by side with the Roland Cloud 106, and the Roland Cloud one, I'm sorry to say to Cherry Audio people, it wiped the floor with it. Really, it was brighter, it was ballsier, it just had a much wider frequency range to the tone of it, and so I started then to recreate patches on the DCO 106, on the Juno 106, and the patches that were recreating sounded better on the Juno 106. But I've got to say that if you've not got Roland Cloud and you've not got a 106, then for 25 quid, this is a 106. Yeah. It might need a bit of brightening up to bring some of the tone out of it, because it does sound a little bit duller than the Roland Cloud version, but it is pretty good. I noticed on the Roland Cloud one, the VCF goes into minus figures, and the cherry one, it stops at 0. You can't go like minus figures on the VCF settings, but so you can't do some of the sounds that you might be able to do on that if you're going that way. Sure. It's probably workarounds to it and that, but yeah, I think for the money, it's really good value. Yeah. But if you've already got the Roland Cloud, then it's not really even worth you buying it. Yeah, because you're not going to use it really. It's got a nice tone, and it does compare better with the Xenology 106. Right. That they're a little bit more even, but the ACB Juno 106 is way ahead, I think.
I mean, when you look at the specification, it comes with over 330 presets, including all the original factories, 16 voice polyphonic. It says rich stereo chorus. Did you? Yeah. Is it still a noisy chorus? Is it an authentic chorus?
No. Even the Roland Cloud one, when you put that on, it's swishing about everywhere, isn't it? It's no noise out of the DCO 106.
Because that was part of the charm, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it sounds, it's a good. The effects section is actually really quite good for 25 quid. It's brilliant. Yeah. Because you've got the chorus, you've got the classic chorus, 2 different modes. Yeah. In that, then you've got a delay, and you've got reverb as well built in. Yeah. Which makes a huge difference to the sound. Obviously, that's why it's so popular, I suppose. Yeah. But and the arpeggio are really good. And another thing I like about it as well is you can set the polyphony manually. Okay. So if you want it to just have like 2, you want it to be duophonic. Yeah. You just click that down to 2 notes. I suppose if you're trying to maximize your CPU, then that's a good way of dealing with it. Great value.
Yeah, and I think that's its key selling point. Yeah. So, Ranz, is this something that floats your boat? Are you in the market for a software 106? I don't know if you have Roland Cloud.
I did up until recently, when I decided I don't want it anymore. Because they screwed me around with something, but we'll talk about that later. Look, I think there's a chorus that you can get for free out there, which is called the TAL chorus, which is probably the most accurate software emulation of the Juno chorus I've ever heard, without it actually being a real one. I just even with that, I don't think it's perfect either, but when you put it in the mix and things like that, it's pretty good. This did sound maybe a tad better, so that's probably a little plus for it. I've obviously thought that the Roland Cloud chorus wasn't as good as the original Juno chorus either, so maybe this has got the slight edge on it. That's probably one of the pluses I'd have with this. So I did think it was quite good. In terms of a soft synth being a Juno, I think a lot of people would probably run out of ideas with it pretty quick though. So it'd be nice if it was part of something else, if it wasn't just a Juno. So it's a bit of a one-trick pony there, but yeah, it's not bad value. But as Ben said, you could probably get it cheaper through the cloud. So
yeah. Because you mentioned the TAL chorus, which is completely free of charge. It's a standalone version of the one that they have in their TAL Uno LX, which is the Juno 60. Thing. Are there any other software 106 emulations out there? I keep thinking there is, but I can't remember what. But maybe that's just me.
I thought there was a no, there wasn't an Arturia one. I thought there was definitely another one, and I'm just trying to think of who it was.
There have been a few.
Yeah, no, so I've slipped my mind now, but yeah, there definitely was one out there.
Yeah. Just doing a quick search now. Then of course nothing wants to throw. Oh, there you go. 6. What's this? Here we go.
Somebody's saying in the chat room that the DeepMind is imperfect. So DeepMind it is essentially a Juno clone, isn't it? But
that's right. Yeah. I've just got a page up here where there's. So let me just bring this up. So of course you got the TAL, which this is talking about the Uno 62. Then there's this 6-month June VST by Electro Studio. Then there's the KWOP 7, great name. The DCO 6. These are all free, by the way. And then the Retro 6 Juno 6 VST. I mean, it's been a very done to death kind of synth and sound. It's a classic, isn't it? Really, I guess. But like you say, Ben, the fact that it's just currently 25 US, and normally and even at 39, it's good value.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't have cloud and you want something, I mean, Cherry Audio have done some pretty good stuff. I've got their voltage modular, and that's good and that's fun. I guess if you're looking for a really good 106 and you don't have cloud, then I guess this is up there.
I was really impressed with it until I put the cloud 106 on to compare it to. I thought it was great up until that point. So for most people, they're going to be really happy with this. It's going to provide all that synthwave vibe that seems
like
to be,
we need any more of that. I used to
the
be.
cloud one does the ACB too, so that could be probably where you're getting that difference, Ben. The ACB, is definitely a very good tech that they've done.
Yeah,
and if they've managed to sort of emulate all of those electrical components, it'll be. I'm sure that the other one is not going to be doing ACB. It might. You never know though. It might have some sort of analog modeling in it though. Did it actually? I never actually read. Did it actually have any mention about analog modeling in it?
In the Cherry Audio one.
Yeah. I don't think they mentioned it.
No, there's no mention of what. Yeah. It just all it says is every aspect precisely modelled in exacting detail, but they don't go into any other information regarding that.
So modelled, what does that mean? It's
exactly
quite a loose term.
It is. It is. Yeah. But there you go. Based on. Yeah, so that's Cherry Audio's DC106, currently retailing for just $25 US. I don't know when it's going to go back up. There is a free 30-day demo as well that just plays random tones periodically, but otherwise is unlimited, and is available as audio unit VST2, VST3, AAX, and standalone for both Mac and Windows. So every base is covered.
Sorry.
He says.
I forgot to mention one little issue I had with it. It's like a preset that's called Xylophone. I was on that, and it sounds a little bit like the popcorn sound.
Right.
And messing about with that, and it seemed like every eighth note or something, there was like a bass drum tone underneath.
Okay.
I thought, well, that's strange. I don't know what that is. And as I run down the keyboard, it decreased in semitones each octave. So as I'm running down, the bass drum happened on a C, and then the next time it happened on a B, and then on a B flat. You know, that kind of thing. Well, it's very odd.
Yeah, it could just be a tiny little bug, I suppose. But...
Well, I thought maybe it's something to do with the filter. You know, sometimes you get weird pops and that on filters, don't you? So I got the cloud version up, and I recreated the sound, and it wasn't doing it on the cloud one. So then I changed the preset up to the next number and back down, and it stopped doing it.
Oh.
So I don't know what that was. It's not part of the sound. It's not an intended thing.
No.
It's probably just a bug that they'll iron out in the future version, but it has got that little weird poppy thing that sounds a bit like a very low bass drum going on
very
every
odd.
now and again.
They'll probably just claim it's authentic analog circuitry.
Yeah. The voice chips are going.
Yeah, that's it. How do you replace those buggers? There you go. Cherry Audio's DCO 106, available now at cherryaudio.com. Okay, so I guess I really wanted Cryss to be with us. I don't know if Cryss, he's not popped up in the chat rooms yet. He's probably gone for a bathroom break and a quick sarnie and a pint before he gets on here. But I'm going to give him some chance to get here. Let's do another software recreation that has come out, and this one again I'm going to have to hold my hands up and say I haven't listened to this at all, but our Swedish friends at Softube have announced to this week that they've perfected the monophonic legend. That's their words, not mine, with their Model 72, which of course is based, as they say, on a classic analog monophonic synth. I wonder which one it could be. But by all accounts, this is a rather good plugin, and they've done some good plugins, these guys. So, do we need? This is the question. I mean, I'm not really bothered about how good this is, or do we need yet another Mini Moog plugin? Copy, whatever. I mean, there are so many out there. Ranz, what do you think? Do we need this?
I think there's a market for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't understand the whole hardware, rage, and they like their studios to be nice and clinical, and just a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor and maybe a little bit of recording gear. That's it. And they swear by it. And I mean, each to their own, but I mean, for me, Arturia have got a very good Model D clone. That what's the other one? The Native Instruments one. Is it the Monarch? Yeah. Which is really, it's always been good, that one. So that's always been a go-to. I don't really know. I didn't get a chance to sort of listen to that and then compare it by launching up the Native Instruments or anything, side by side. But it sounded like a Model D. You could do Model D things on it. Mm-hmm. So I think there'll be definitely people out there that will be keen on it.
Yeah.
One of the things I guess is cool about the VST stuff, and if you're into Eurorack and you've got something like an Expert Sleepers module or something like that, where you can bring, or even the old Roland Ira Eurorack modules can do it too. You can bring your VST instruments out into your Eurorack and then muck around with the audio signal through your Eurorack, or you could the opposite. You could bring your some sort of modulation thing that you've got in some hardware module and bring it into your VST. So there's benefits to having these things. And one of the things that the Model D lacked was a bit of modulation stuff on it, didn't it? So because it was really one of the originals, they didn't really sort of put all the the modular stuff in there, because they wanted you to go and buy their modular stuff. That was that's what they did. So I guess in that sense, you could marry that up with some of all the other gear that you've got. You could also do it as a VST modular as well. It could be quite interesting what you could put that with something else and have a play. And what is it, €99?
It's €99 on offer for launch. It's normally 159, so it's not a bank breaker by any stretch, really. I'll tell you what I do like is the 3D renders that they've done look amazing. It does look like they've, because when I first saw this, I thought, oh, it's an actual hardware thing. Softube have gone hard. Oh no, it's not. It's just a really, really nice 3D render. But I see. I've got the Arturia stuff in V Collection. There was a really good free one years ago. I can't remember the name of it now. I'm sure the chat room will come to our aid. But there are so many different Minimoog Model Ds emulations out there. It's kind of been done to death. But saying that, Softube have got a really good reputation for accuracy. And so, this one, I think I've only ever been in a room with a Minimoog a few times. I never really played on one, so I just don't have that experience to say, oh yes, it's as good or it's close or whatever. And of course we've got the Behringer as well. As far as the hardware is concerned, I mean, what does that sell? What does that the Behringer D sell for?
3 times the price.
Yeah.
What is it? £300?
Something like that, isn't it? Yeah, it's not...
You could, obviously you get cheaper than that. That's their recommended retail price too. So that is a really good module.
Exactly. I was speaking to Simon Alexander, who's going to be on with us next week, by the way. He did an AB with an original Minimoog and the Behringer one, and he couldn't tell them apart. And I take Simon's word quite well. It's I trust him. So if he says that they're close, then they're close. There you go.
Nice.
Who needs a plug-in? But it's. I just thought it's nice to see another one, but do we actually really need another one? So there you go.
Yeah, it's. I'm going a little bit off topic here, but you've got like people creating hardware versions of it and people creating software versions of it, and it's all to fit into individual workflows, isn't it? Who prefers what? Or somebody can't afford the hardware but they want that sound, they go for the software. The only thing I see with having lots of software is that you need a pretty powerful computer to run it all. I wonder if, I don't know, like graphics card companies do it with these GPU boxes, don't they? Like Universal Audio have kind of gone that way a little bit. But, if Roland made basically a super boutique engine that you could connect to your computer that would run all the cloud stuff, and free up your computer power, that'd be pretty handy. That
I've often wondered, because
wasn't the System 1 and the System 8 supposed to be that with the plug out?
The System 8 does do that, doesn't it?
I wish they kept going with it.
I was just thinking more of a little rack unit or something, just something that's tucked away doing all the.
Because some years ago there was.
They did the System 1M.
Yeah.
Do you remember System 1M? It was the System 1 with the crappy keyboard on the bottom. That was actually a really good idea. You could have an SH101 in there, an SH2. What else was the System 100 that was in there? You could do. There's quite a lot of stuff you could do in there.
Do you remember years ago?
Kept going with it.
Yeah. Do you remember years ago? You used to be able to buy these units that you could. They were, I think they were predominantly for Macs, so they had a Thunderbolt connection on them. But inside there was a PCIe slot, and you could go out and buy a graphics card, and then put that into this unit and Thunderbolt it into your MacBook, for example, and you get all the benefit, the processing power of that. I never had one or never saw one, but I seem to remember there being this kind of this box that you plugged in, and the system was able to utilize that as a third party, kind of processor. Let me just I'm just going to go and bring Mr. Cryss Synthient Smith in, if I can just find him. He says he's ready in the chat room. Why is he not at the top of my list? There we go. Just add. Oh, come on. What are you doing? And we'll just add him in. So here he comes. Just bear with us, Cryss. He's jumped on top of Ranz. Let me go to the to this cam, and then we've got them all there. There we go. That's better. How's that for lightning fast reactions? So yeah. Hello, Cryss. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
You've had a little break from Jamie Show.
How you going, Cryss? Good to see you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. So thanks again for being with. I know everybody's already said this, but I just wanted to express it myself too. That we're glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's awesome, mate, and it's nice to finally get to be on this show live. Like I said earlier, I don't usually watch it live because I'm usually snoring my head off at this time of the day.
So we were just talking about Softube's Model 72 Moog emulation, although they don't call it the Moog emulation for obvious reasons. And we were just we were discussing, does the world need yet another Model D or Mini Moog plug-in? And the general consensus was, yeah, if you want. But yeah, I haven't really. Have you had a chance to play with this one at all, Cryss?
No, I haven't.
No.
I was wondering if anybody had compared it to the Model D app for iOS that Moog put out.
I've got that, but I haven't got the Softube one.
Yeah, I think I picked that up when it was free.
One thing that struck me about that app, I wish I was able to run it on my computer instead, because then I would actually use it a lot more. But it had interesting presets, like they had thought about sound design, I think in a more interesting way than a lot of the other Mini Moog emulations. And then also they made it polyphonic, so that allowed you to go into some different directions. So
sorry, that's just me.
So, yeah, with a lot of these, there you go. Yeah, with a lot of these monophonic old analog synthesizer emulations, just think it'd be great, like to have some of these in poly, and just like the some of them that are on the Roland Cloud. Like, could we have a polyphonic Pro Mars? How cool would that sound?
Yeah. Isn't Mini Monster G4 Software's? I think G4 Software. The Mini Monster, which is kind of this Mini Moog on steroids, which because they did it in conjunction with the guys at Ohm as well. That's polyphonic, and you can get some really crazy stuff out of that. That's a really powerful version. I haven't used that in ages. Forgotten all about that one. That's another nice one to pop in the mix. But I think there's basically, I think what we can generally agree on is that whether you're on iOS or in the plugin world or in the hardware world, there's a Mini Moog somewhere for everyone, whether it's an original or a copy or a clone or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Choice is always a good thing. So there you go. That's Softube's. It's called the Model 72 synthesizer. I guess that's the year that the unit they used was made, and it's available now, normally priced at €159, currently at 99. There's also a demo version if you want to give that a try before, which we should have done if we were a YouTube show with any kind of credibility. We'd have done something like that, but we didn't, or I didn't anyway, so there you go. So now we've got Cryss here, because we've delayed...
Hang on a minute. I blew my £25 budget
this
on
is
the
true.
Cherry Audio.
Yeah, this is true.
I couldn't stretch to anything else.
We have a budget. People have been saying in the chat room, I've been sort of like keeping an eye on the chat room, a few people have said, what's wrong with Ranz's video stream? He normally has such a great connection. He does. He absolutely does. It's just us. It's coming. He's coming from Perth. I don't know which direction it's going. Whether it's going Pacific or going over the continent, and then it's coming into my system, and then it's being pushed out to something else, and that's why it's shit. Okay, it's nothing to do with anything else because we do everything on the cheap here. So
we've surrounded the world. I mean,
yeah,
between California, Perth,
we're on 3 continents.
England.
Absolutely, we're a tri-continent show.
It's
I like
Skype's
that.
fault. We'll just blame Skype.
Yeah, Skype. But we are looking into alternatives. But these things cost money. So if you want to write me a check, someone, please do. Right. So let's move on to this because we did delay this one until Cryss could join us because I want his opinion on this. So I guess the big news of the week has a little something to do with a thing called a Prophet 5. And it's this. It's the PikoPiko Factory Prophet Mini, which apparently is a real thing. It's a 3-octave mini keyboard with this very cute and almost quite authentic front panel. And it's a real thing, apparently. And it runs on batteries. It has 4 voices, 37-note mini keyboard, has MIDI, has speakers. So I thought this was, the big news of the week is that you can actually buy a pocket Prophet. Really, did anybody else see this?
I did see it.
It's cute, isn't it? I mean, it looks well built as well. I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot to go on. I've got Robin's Gear News page up here. It looks kind of pretty well built.
That's kind of that image is kind of what I see now when I look at my Prophet 6 after other this week. That's when I look at my Prophet 6.
What other announcements would they be? I don't know what you're talking about.
You've not got round to it yet, so
okay.
I'm sure.
Well, shall we? Okay, I mean, let's first of all let's just take our hats off to PikoPiko, like Pikachu, PikoPiko Factory Prophet Mini. That's not a mouthful, is it? It's from Japan, and I'm hoping that we see more of this. It says, there's an update here from Robin that says, I'm reliably informed that the synthesizer is indeed made from discrete analog components. It is not some sort of emulation. The one in the photos is just a mock-up of the case for a show. They've received the PCBs back from manufacturer and will be soldering the first one together after the show. So the show takes place today, or it's taken place in Tokyo. So fingers crossed, we might see something out of that a little later on. So if you're looking for I guess it's a budget alternative compared to the others, there's your man. So of course, yes, we've got to talk about this because it is probably the biggest news of the year so far, I say, and that is that Dave Smith, bless him, and Sequential Circuits have announced 2 new synthesizers, the Prophet 5 and the Prophet 10. He's calling, certainly the Prophet 5 is calling it a Rev 4. So this isn't like a new version of it, so to speak. He in his advertising spiel at the beginning says this is an evolution, this is a Rev 4, this is taking it to the next kind of level. And I'm sure we've all watched the videos, we've all seen the additional things that this brings. Of course, it brings modern, up-to-date connectivity through things like USB. It also features original or remade filters from Dave Rossum and Curtis chips, and you can choose between a Rev 1, 2 and 3, as well as the standard. There's what does he call it? A vintage knob, which I often get called. So there's this thing where you can just turn it around from a 4, and as you get closer and closer to a 1, I guess things get a little sloppy. And I'm using that word because I think that's what they used on one of their other synths, this slop mode. So whether that's just a renamed version of that, I don't know. But it looks the absolute dog's leathery bits. It certainly has that Prophet 5 feel and look, and from what I've heard, it has that sound. Benefits from all of the modern manufacturing techniques and everything. And of course, there's this as well, which I guess on the surface, I don't think it is any different, other than internally it can do 10 voices, 5. So that's your Prophet 10. Whereas before, that was a dual manual affair, which essentially was just 2 Prophet 5s glued together in some way. You can now have a Prophet 10 in a standard single keyboard form factor. They retail for something like $3.5 for the Prophet 5 and $4.2 or $4.3 for the Prophet 10. So they're not cheap, but they are sequential. This is Dave Smith's company. So I'm going to go to Cryss, because I know he had some robust opinions on this, and given that he has handled other sequential instruments of late, including the Prophet 6, I thought I'd ask you, sir, what you thought of this announcement.
Thought you were about to say I've handled other vintage knobs or something.
Wasn't going to say that.
Oh boy. Yeah, so we got to talk about this a little bit on Jamie's show, and man, I know that so many people are really excited about this, and this is something that a lot of people have been looking forward to. Now the Prophet 6 is great also, and I think a little bit misunderstood, to be honest, and maybe that's a conversation for another time, but it seems like this Prophet 6, the Prophet 5, and Prophet 10 will all fit within the sequential family really well.
Yeah.
Each offering something a little bit different. But wow, what a great! I mean, it's got some great sounds in it. I would say that I'm not particularly a sequential guy. I mean, I have a Dave Smith OB6, and that's using Oberheim. It's basically an Oberheim, made by Sequential, but. This is the sound clips and everything have been wonderful. I really enjoyed my time with the Prophet 6. In fact, this month I'm working on more stuff. I've already given it back, but I'm doing some editing for a video and another song, which shows off some sounds from that. But yeah, wow. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll just respond to things you guys say. Although I can tell you one of your questions, which was, is there a difference between the vintage knob and the slop knob? Mm-hmm. On the Prophet 6 and OB6? And the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different thing, and there's been quite a so here's the thing, is like they don't want to give away their secrets.
Sure.
But on Gearsluts, the two guys, Pim and CBMD, that are sequential employees, have been talking about it, and what the differences are, and this vintage knob sounds really interesting. There's been requests already that they would put it in new firmware for the OB6 and P6, and I think that would be really cool as well. Mm-hmm. But also, if you haven't heard it, and if you're somebody that's looking at one of these, CBMD did a few sound samples that were posted on Gearsluts, and just demonstrating what the vintage knob did. So it sweeps between the Rev 4, which is very, is more modern, tight. Then it goes to Rev 3, 2, 1, and the Rev 1, of course, was the loosest and kind of wildest. But he did some things like a filter sweep. What does a filter sweep sound like on all 3 or all 4 positions?
Right.
And it was very interesting. It seems like it's going to be a really great addition.
And
what do you guys think about it?
Well, it's this vintage knob. It goes to say on the far left it's 4, and then it goes 3, 2, and 1. And it's not stepped. It's a smooth transition.
Right.
So that becomes a performance control as well. It's not just, you're not clicking, it's not like the filter selector where it's 1 stroke 2 and 3. This is now a performance tool, which has got to be quite a cool thing to have, don't you think?
It's pretty subtle. I mean, you definitely can hear the difference, but I don't think it'll be as much as something that you'll play around with during a live performance. But one of the sound clips that CBMD put up, I'm sorry, I don't remember what his real name is, but he said, so the filter sweep clip was, this is directly on 4, 3, and these are just labels on there. Mm-hmm. It's a continuous pot. But then he went back and did a pad sound with, here's what it sounds like between 4 and 3, and between 3 and 2, and between 2 and 1. And there were some really interesting places in between there that you're like, oh, well, it's not quite Rev 2 and it's not quite Rev 3, but there's that spot in there that is unexplored that sounds, very beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
I understood it to be like a polyphonic tuning control. Because when you build electrically, when you build an analog polysynth, you're going to have to hone in on the tuning of all your voices, right? So if you kind of slightly detune over, gradually, but it's not quite a detuning knob. It's like you would see with unison type thing. It's slightly different, but it's more to do with how the voices line up when you put them together. So that's the way I understand it. But I could be wrong. But when I listened to it, that's kind of how it felt to me.
I thought that's what slop was. I thought that's what the slop control did, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, so I think the slop, as far as I recall, it does affect the tuning in a way. And again, I don't know exactly what the technology is because they haven't really told us exactly. But with this vintage knob on it, it is affecting both the oscillators and the filters as well. So one of the features about it, so I have a sound in the my Polyvision Prophet 6 set where you're able to space. Yeah, there. Put up something on the screen, Robbie. Put a link. But one of the things you can do with it is that those old Oberheim sounds where like the Tom Sawyer sound, right? That filter sweep at the beginning of the song, and you hear all the voices kind of sweeping down, but they're in different places. All whatever. I think that was an OBX, so however many voices that had. And so you can't really get that, but there is a way to configure it where you can have it set up monophonically to play a note, but then with the key tracking and everything, you can, I had it set up for a chord function, but you can hit multiple notes, and then the filter is following key tracking on each of the notes, and then all those filters will sweep separately. Now, if you're doing that on the Prophet 6, you basically have to run it monophonic, and you can't switch notes unless you're playing with the tuning knob on it. But the clever thing with this is that if you set that to the Rev 1 position on the Prophet 5 or 10, you can get those envelope sweeps happening in different places as well. And it kind of gives you that, which I love that effect. I mean, there's nothing like it. You put those just spaced filters falling into some delay or something, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's true articulation, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you can hear the envelopes and the filters of each of the voices happen when the key is pressed, as opposed to it being some sort of paraphonic type setup.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in my vintage 106, it's got analog filters. I went and tuned them, but even sitting with an oscilloscope and tuning the filters, you can't get it perfect. And so even it has, like, if you do a really resonant sweep on it, you can hear the filters fall in different places just ever so slightly. But on something like a Prophet 6 or an OB6, they've got the technology down so well that they can be just so perfectly tuned that you don't really hear that. They're so close together. So having this option is interesting. I like that.
Ben.
Yeah. And they're using the Dave Rossum chip too, which I talked about on my show yesterday. So Dave has gone back and redone that filter chip, and he's improved it because it did have some some faults. Obviously, it's technology. What is it? 30, nearly 40 years old technology. So having the ability to tap into some of the new features is probably where that vintage knob sort of was born, I would say.
Yeah.
They use that just in the filter section, right? And they use was it the CEM for the oscillators and the other filter parts?
Yeah, the Rev 3 filters, the Curtis 3320, isn't it? Yeah. I noticed that Dave was kind of very specific about saying that he was using the Doug Curtis and the Dave Rossum chips and not the cool audio stuff, which you would have thought might have made a cost sense. I don't know. But Ben, is this something that is jumped up onto your shopping list?
Well, if I had money, yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, with lockdown, I don't. But I think when I saw that this had been released, it was like, oh, because for me the Prophet 6 was a fairly big investment. You know, it was like $2,500. I think my V synth has only surpassed that, being like closer to $3,000. So it was like a fairly substantial bit of money for me. And if I'd have known that he was going to make a Prophet 5, I might have held back and waited. To be honest, you're getting one less voice, and some of the feature sets like different as well, isn't it? You've got effects and other things going on in there, but it's just that aspiration of owning a Prophet 5. You finally achieve it, and it's a Prophet 5 with full spec MIDI. It's a Prophet 5 with USB connectivity if you need it. It's a Prophet 5 that's not going to need servicing every couple of months.
Yeah.
It's
a Prophet 5 that's cheaper than old Prophet 5s on the second-hand market.
Yeah. And I think like I've heard a bit of criticism of it, you know, like not of Dave, because I think everybody loves Dave Smith. I don't think anybody's got a bad word to say about the guy, but criticism of the revisiting the past, you know, instead of coming up with something new. But
they can't win, can they?
Yeah, he's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. Because when he made the Pro 3, it was like, well, it's not a Pro 1, is it? You know, and there's bits of the Pro 2 that we like that haven't been carried over to the Pro 3, and when he tries to do something different, it gets criticised for not being the past, and when he does the past, there's a few people looking at it saying, well, where's the innovation? But I think I've always said that synths should be like guitars. I think, you know, that you can go out and you can buy a Les Paul now. Why can't you go out and buy a Jupiter 8? You know,
that's a very good point.
Yeah, it's an instrument that was made at a certain time. It doesn't mean that it's not valid anymore because that time's gone. It should still be available.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I obviously I'm Mr. Digital. Okay, so you might not think that this is something that I personally would go for, but I would love one, because I guess the music of my teenage years. So many of those bands, those artists, you know, Japan, Thompson Twins, that I was just absolutely mad about, were using Prophet 5s, and you saw them using it. You could hear them use. You could hear this. It's the one synth that I remember. You could hear it distinctly on different recordings, but you just knew it was that. And it also looked, you know, different to everything else. It was, you know, it looked like a piece of old furniture, because of the, you know, the wood paneling and everything. And this was back in the day when everything, you know, in the early 80s was, you know, it was black and shiny, you know, like all of this. So, you know, to see this kind of piece of old furniture that was sat either on top of something else, you know, it was interesting to look at. But the sound, whenever I, you know, was researching, you know, what are those sounds, and you'd see Prophet 5, and eventually you kind of get tuned in, and so the sound of it was always very alluring. I would have loved to have seen them do a double manual Prophet 10. That would, you know, as a limited edition of 100, you know, complete, you know, £10,000 or something. That would have been lovely. But yeah, I think this is a lot of people have been asking for it. I think this will sell very well. Interesting that it comes, you know, at the same time, or around the same time as, you know, the Polybrute, which is going to be interesting. And it's funny, I think it might have been on your show yesterday, Ranz, that somebody said, you know, everybody's making this big fuss about the Polybrute only being 6 voices, yet here comes a Prophet 5 with 1 voice less, and the world is just like creaming their pants over it. And so it's, I guess it's just, you know, you forgive the Prophet 5 for its synths and its missing voices, or not missing voices, its lower voice count. But it's
but he was
Prophet
smart,
10
right?
seems good value.
Yeah, I mean he was smart, because he gave everybody the thing that was the old thing, that the the fundamentalists will want to have. Like,
Yeah.
you got to have that old Prophet 5, and that's it, because I got to be able to play Betty Davis Eyes exactly
Yeah.
with voice dealing and all that.
Yeah.
But then for everybody else, like, I want the old sounds to make new music.
Yeah.
But 5 voices isn't going to cut it. Here's a 10 voice.
So,
yes,
but
that's great.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think Dave has done this right. You know, this, you know, for I don't know how long, there have been a handful of synths that the community have been saying forever and a day, please, can we have a present day Jupiter 8? Can we have a present day SH101? Can we have a present day Prophet 5? And, you know, Roland will give us a Jupiter XM, which in its own right is not a bad synth from what I've heard and seen, but it's no Jupiter 8. And they'll give us the JP08 Boutique, which really is half of Jupiter 8, which then therefore it shouldn't be called a JP08. But that's another story. But Dave Smith has given us the Prophet 5, and it's the full set Prophet 5 with all the stuff that we love from the old one and all the stuff that we'd expect from a new synth. And it's the perfect package. And yes, it's a little expensive, but this is a brilliantly designed, predominantly hand built. Because I think they're all built in America. Still, I don't think.
Well, I believe probably the boards are coming from elsewhere.
Yeah,
I imagine, just like Moog.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting wave soldered stuff from China, and then you're assembling it there.
Yeah, but it's not, you know, coming off a production line as a unit somewhere else in the Far East. This has been built with care, it's been designed with care, and I think this is, you know, if you're going to if you're going to chase analog ghosts, this is how you bring that ghost back to life. I think it's a benchmark. I think.
Yeah, I think it might actually be like a landmark moment in synth production, because if it really is successful, then other companies are going to take note. And seeing as the amount of success that Behringer's had with what they've been doing, this is going to blow that away, really. I think everybody's going to want one of these. Anybody who knows the stuff is going to want.
Because it begs the question, everyone's been speculating. I mean, they speculate about everything that Behringer might do or might do next. You know, they go and buy Tears for Fears old, you know, collection of touring synths from the early 90s, and all of a sudden they're going to be making a DX1, they're going to be making an Emulator 2, they're going to be making a Prophet 5, they're going to be making a Lindrum, just because they bought some stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Behringer Prophet 5, you know, kind of rumor has been one of the louder ones, I guess. So I don't know. Has Dave, you know, pulled a smart move here and got something out there that is, you know, undeniably a Prophet 5? Because they've got the Pro 800, you know, that's just been, and that. So it'd be interesting. Ranz, what do you think? Do you think Behringer is this going to put them off doing something like along those lines?
Well, I kind of think there's room for both. I think the Behringer people will just continue doing what they've been doing, and it will be a lot of people out there that will buy it because they won't have that sort of money to invest in a Dave Smith or a Sequential product. I think what we've got to understand is that you can buy a trumpet for £100, and you can buy a trumpet for £1,000. So, you know, you blow air in it and it makes a sound. Yeah. We can split hairs, but, you know, if you're going to have an instrument, and you'd expect if you were getting a Sequential Prophet 5, it would have the quality in it. If you get a Behringer one, you'd expect a little bit of quality, but you're not kind of expecting that sort of, you know, that sports car sort of polished quality. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the first thing. But the second thing too is that it's been touched by Dave. He's the guy that made the original, and I think there's a bit of a nostalgia element to it, and the fact that, you know, that he's still heavily in control of Sequential and what they're doing, and I mean, obviously Pro 3 was an amazing synth to bring out. So in terms of innovations, they're still innovating.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the Prophet 10, if I'm honest, because I think the biggest the biggest drawback with the Prophet 5 was the lack of voices, really.
Yeah.
And I have been told that you can make a Prophet 10 if you get the Prophet 10 act like a Prophet 5. So if you do want to play Betty Davis eyes and have the voice stealing, you can still do it and then switch the voices back on. So yeah, I think, for me, if I didn't have a massive big list of synths that I want to buy, that will probably sneak on. But probably what I would do, just personally, is I'd probably get the Behringer one first. The Behringer Pro 800 I'm talking about too, because we don't really know when they're going to bring out the Prophet 5. And then, muck around with that for a bit and let it fall apart. And then when I do have real money coming in, I'll probably get the Prophet 5.
Yeah.
Because I still want to get a Moog 1, and by the time I get enough money for that, Moog will probably stop making them, and I'll miss out, knowing my luck. But yeah.
Yeah. I must say that this Prophet 5, if I was going to go for one, I would go for the Prophet 10, because it's just double the voices, isn't it? It's got to be better. But this is one of the first synths in recent years where I've actually looked at my credit card bill and thought, can I actually? Because I buy everything as much as I possibly can cash, because I don't like to get into any kind of debt. But this has made me think about going into debt, even if it's just a small amount. It's an interesting, lovely thing.
What day was this announced this week? Does anybody remember what day of the week?
It's midweek, wasn't it? I think it was around midweek.
It was like Tuesday or Wednesday, wasn't it?
Tuesday,
it was mentioned on the Sonic State show, wasn't it? So it would have been pre-Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think it was Tuesday, because Monday I went on and I was like, well, I was at. I usually do the same thing, Robbie. Like, if I don't have money, like, I buy and sell stuff, but the one thing that I did purchase, and thankfully I've got good credit to be able to do it, is the Moog 1, and I got the 0 interest on it through Sweetwater. So had the last little bit looking at me, and it was going to be up by the end of the month, because I bought it in October 2018. So I paid it off Monday, and I've got a nice big credit line. And this thing drops on Tuesday. I'm like, oh geez, like no, I need to be be careful about my money, and like, but what a temptation though.
Yeah. Definitely, I would love one.
So go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. One of the things that I think is interesting is that, like Ben was talking about the Prophet 6 versus the 5, and he may have waited, but the Prophet 6 still offers a lot in terms of what it does. I wish it had an extra octave like everybody else, but it's got, when we usually talk about does it have discrete circuitry versus chips, like usually people prefer the discrete circuitry, which is, the Prophet uses more of that. Also, of course, effects, that's, I like to be able to program effects into a patch, but a lot of times I'll use stuff in, Valhalla or whatever. But some of the modulation, the Prophet 6 in itself is a really simple synthesizer. And the Prophet 5 is even more so. It's barely past a Juno 106, in my opinion. Like, there's not a whole lot you do with it. It's you got an LFO, and if you want to lose one of the two oscillators, you can have a second LFO that, So one thing is, like, if you like that Prophet sound, the Prophet 6, I think, still remains a quite a viable option, because it's a great sounding synth. Now, obviously, the 5 and 10, I think they sound a little bit closer to the vintage ones, if you like that, which a lot of people do, and that's the ones that are best known. But the Prophet 6 still has quite a bit to offer, and I would be surprised if they stopped making it. Oh, like, Aaron I just made a comment, like, if they make a Prophet 6 Mark II with more LFOs, I'll upgrade my Morpho X4 for it. That would be a great time. Like, maybe the next thing is to do a Prophet. Well, I guess 8 hasn't been taken or something, but or at least I think 6 voice. Like, if you're going to redo it, give it more voices, but some sort of like a Prophet 6 successor, or would have been. I would have loved to seen, like, they did a Prophet 5 that is just like what they did, the old sound with just a couple modern conveniences. But then let's have another version that kind of would be more expensive, but would get you a little bit closer to like the super synths, like the Moog 1. Like, let's have more LFOs and envelopes and routings and all that kind of stuff, because I'm sure a lot of people would love to be able to do what the Moog 1 does, but maybe they prefer sequential voicing over Moog. So
yeah, it's all very interesting stuff, and it's a pleasant kind of dilemma to have, I guess, with this kind of plethora of really good analog synths. I think probably about a year ago I said, what the world needs now is more analog polysynths, because there weren't a huge amount out there, and now we've had this rush of analog polys, and both affordable and high end and stuff in between, and so I think we're the winners at the end of the day. We can all choose whether we go for a Pro 800 or a Prophet 5 or a Poly Brute or a Moog 1. We've got this embarrassment of riches really when it comes to this kind of thing. So there you go.
You guys already discussed the what's it called, the Cherry Audio one, like $25.
And the general Ben actually bought it, and he said that it wasn't as good as the ACB. It was comparable to the Zenology model expansion, but for $25, if you don't already have a good Juno 106, then you can't really go wrong. And I think that was our general consensus.
It's
and
brilliant value for
talked
money.
About so many free synthesizers, software synthesizers. This is $25, all the way up to Prophet 10s and Moog 1s.
Yeah,
it's a great time to be a synthesist.
Isn't it just? It always is. So I tell you what, it's coming up to 9:20 here in the UK. I appreciate it's now 4:20 almost in Australia. So let's before he nods off, let's talk to Ranz a little bit more about what he does. So if you're not familiar with Ranz, and why would you not be? Because I mean, I've seen you in and around online for a long while, mostly as a guest. As a chatty in the Sonic State chat rooms over the years, and then was it last year that you started doing your regular show?
Yeah, at the start of last year.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit longer than that, but it was the start of last year. Yeah.
So why? There's my first question. Why start up this show? What was the motivation for you individually to do that?
I actually don't really remember why I started doing it. I think one of the first things I kind of thought was I don't want it to be a Sonic State show. Because I actually know Nick quite well. I've known him for years, and I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to videos, and I work in the IT industry, so I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to computers as well. So I guess I just kind of wanted to have a play with that world, the streaming world, the video world, and I mean obviously I'm already a synth nerd as well, so it kind of just happened. I think is probably the why. So yeah, for me, I started off like you guys are doing now. I started off with OBS Studio. I had Skype callers and all that sort of stuff, and I have had all the technical issues that you guys currently enjoying. And I hit this big snag once where this computer that I use had a massive Windows update one day, and it just broke everything. It happened on the day that I was doing the stream, and I was just so annoyed. And so this was probably about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months into me doing it. So I had to make a choice, like, am I going to still just pull my hair out and continue working with OBS? Now, OBS is open source, so you can't expect people to, because no one's getting paid, basically, so you can't expect people to help you with it. There are people out there that do, but so I wanted to get something that was a bit more stable, and I did my research, and there's actually an Australian company called vMix that are out, and they're really big in the world. They're in television studios. That's how big the software is. So I thought to myself, I need something stable. I need something that's got a support base. And if I pay for it, I'd expect someone to sort of answer my support ticket if I've got an issue. And lo and behold, Sonic State actually use vMix as well. So it was kind of, and I've actually, to be honest, I've actually always had like a smaller cut down license of vMix to do, little jobs here and there for my video channel. So I decided to go out and get the pro version, and I ended up having to fund that by selling my OP1. That's how I afforded to do it, because there's no way that I would have been able to sneak the purchase of the license in the bank account without the wife noticing. If you know what I mean. So sold the OP1, and there's a little story with that, but that's kind of how that started. And I think it's a good sort of world to get into. You kind of learn a little bit about creating shows, and you become a producer in a sense. Like Robbie, you're doing that now. So it's like a bit of, you're a conductor. You're kind of doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't even realize you're doing. So you're really busy actually, and it's actually kind of cool. It's a bit of an adrenaline rush when you're running a show. So I've actually enjoyed it. I mean, obviously we don't get paid for this. We do it for the love. And as you said, there's similar people that turn up and watch in your audience that are in mine. So, and those people know who they are. They're just awesome how they support us. So it's really, really cool. And it's actually, I find it really cool that it's almost like these guys can't get enough talking about synths, which I completely understand. But but each one of our shows is different too. And we've got different guests, we've got different topics, we've got little different slants to it. I mean, I try to throw a bit of humor, very, very corny dad's joke type humor in my show, but just because I think sometimes it can get a bit serious sometimes when we're talking tech, I like to sort of throw a bit of humor in. And also I kind of feel like I've got a lot of plans with my show, but I kind of feel like I'd like to sort of have a theme every week, and instead of sort of having a show and then telling everyone what the show was about afterwards, I thought let's try and sort of tell everyone what we're going to do on the show to try and sort of attract that particular type of person that may be interested in that. So like, for example, yesterday we did MIDI for larger setups, and there is absolutely no problem at all with me finding a topic each week. I literally have like a backlist, and it's getting longer. I actually find it hard to work out which one I'm going to do from the list each week. But I find it interesting too, because it challenges me, because some of the topics we come up with aren't something that I know a bit about. So, for example, we had a show a few weeks ago where we talked about the Hydrosynth, and I don't have one. So how was I going to do that? And so I brought two guests on who had Hydrosynths, and because I'm using vMix, and vMix have just introduced a new technology where the audio through the video callers has improved dramatically, we were able to get some really decent sound quality through their connection, and it just made that show almost, you guys who watched it probably wouldn't even realize what was going on behind the scenes, but to have that, I know what's happened in the last 12, 18 months in streaming technology, and it's come leaps and bounds. So whoever's writing software out there for it, the hat's off to them. That sort of stuff's been cool.
But it's the place, it's the market to be in, especially in this day and age. In the last 6 to 8 months, when everybody's at home, and it seems the world and his wife are having a go at doing streaming, and there's a lot of really great content coming. There's some not so great, like us, but there's some good stuff out there. So it's interesting. It's a burgeoning. And I think it will just carry on like that, because more and more people are kind of seeing this as a great form of content provision. We don't have to sit in front of a TV or go. We can have our own. We can pick and choose and make our own TV channels. And if synths are your thing, then you've got a multitude of shows: yours, ours, Nick's, Jamie's, and all the others that are out there that you can just kind of pick and choose from.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that pre-COVID and this sort of streaming revolution, I guess you call it. I mean, obviously I'd been doing my show for at least a year by then. So, I mean, luckily for me, I had a year of finding out some of the idiot, stupid things that you do as a beginner. So, and I'm still doing them anyway, but yeah. But the other cool thing about it too is now that kind of there's a lot of people jumping on the streaming bandwagon, you get a lot more people who are interested in being part of it. Yeah. Whereas before, I actually found it actually quite hard to get people to want to get behind a camera.
Yeah.
So I found getting guests sometimes a bit hard in the early days, and now I find it very, very easy to get guests, and that has nothing to do with the fact that people know who I am and it's a bit more sort of well known. It's got nothing to do with that. It's purely because of people's fears and getting behind a camera, and now that they're used to doing it, and COVID's the reason for that, because they've been forced to, whether it be through work or through whatever. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially us musos, we don't, a lot of synth players aren't usually the front man of bands. They're usually the back guys.
Yeah.
They might be playing synths and running a mixing console at the same time, and who's done that? So exactly, it's usually us to do it. So we're not usually the people in front making everyone laugh. So yeah, it's interesting, that's for sure.
Cool. No, I mean, I really enjoy your show, and certainly on Saturday afternoon, I have, because I follow my football, or should I say soccer, for those that don't live in the UK. My team, when they're playing, I'll have them on in the background, and of course, kickoff is generally 3 p.m, and that's when your show starts. But I do often find myself just lowering the volume on the football and just keeping your show there, and then just waiting until I hear the fake crowd noise, as it is nowadays, rise to see if anybody's might have scored a goal. But yeah, it's like you said. I think the variety is the fact that we've got us. We just cobbled this together because we thought, hey, look, we've got this Facebook page that has an audience. We're all stuck indoors. Let's do something for a bit of a giggle, and we're almost 30 shows in. And then you've got you, who has a very professional, polished kind of presentation, with all the graphics and everything. Well, but also, like you say, you have a format, and you stick to that format, and you present it like you would, like a TV show. When you go onto the programming guide, this week on blah blah blah, you're going to have X, Y, and Z, and that's what you do, and so you know what's coming, and you know that's going to be a show. Like yesterday, when I saw that it was all about MIDI, and I love MIDI and working it all out and figuring out what to do with it all. So it was instant. Yeah, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to make sure I watch that one, or at least catch up on it later. So, and then you've got the stalwarts of the industry, such as your Nick Batts, who this is it's a very concise hour-long thing. We like to ramble. Yourself. I mean, I think it was 3 hours yesterday. We do 2.5. We're not constrained by anything. Not constrained by time. So yeah, it's good fun. But there's a lot of variety there. And the fact that we seem to be attracting this consistent audience, it just makes it feel like one kind of big, happy family. If that doesn't sound too corny.
That's the way I see it. A few people sort of say to me, "Oh, you've got competition." I don't see it like that at all. I see it actually the opposite. I see the more people that do this, the better it is for all of us.
Yeah.
And actually, those people in chat will probably attest to this. I encourage. There's guys in this chat room I can see now. I'm pushing them all the time to come on my show, and quite a few of them have said no, I'm not going to do it. And some of them have buckled under that me pushing pressure, and they've eventually come on. And I think it's been good for them because I've seen their YouTube channels improve as a result. And if that's a small thing that I can do for them, then great. I'm happy for that, because you've got one of the things about this. You've got to get out of your fears, and it's really, at the end of the day, it's just like being on a phone with someone. So it's not really that bad.
Exactly.
You do get comfortable with it. One of the things I'll say about the format is humans are pretty habitual. We like to have our routine. So if your show's too chaotic each week, it could be your way, and that's what may attract people. But I find that lots of people tend to sort of say to me, "Oh, I missed so for example, I didn't get any scammers of the week, for example. They will say, "Oh, I missed your scammers this week. How did you not have any?" I said, "Well, sometimes, for me, I don't have a scam to show."
Scammers have a day off.
Yeah, you have scammers having a day off, whatever. But people are very habitual.
We got to keep
like
low
that.
this week. Ranz is on to us.
Yeah, yes, it is. So that if that's anything anyone could take away for them being a YouTuber, for example, try and be consistent, but at the same time try and be innovative as well. So yeah, people kind of like I said, they like their habitual stuff. So you then sort of become a producer when you're doing video, even if it's not a live show, you're doing videos in a format that people sort of grow to like. And if you change it each week, that you will end up with different audiences, and you won't have that sort of stability there. So it's probably something for people to look to if they're wondering about this side of it. It's a bit like your music style, isn't it? You're going to have part of your music style will be innovative and new, but the other part of it will be what everyone grows to love about that artist.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
And I think Aaron brought something up that's in the chat room. I think that I was kind of going to allude to. He says that half the SynthTuber channels out there are thinly veiled adverts, and I would have to agree that there's a whole bunch of YouTube personalities, shall we say, that are in the synth world, and every single one of their videos, whilst some are very good and informative, are clearly they clearly show some degree of a bias. Because they're reviewing this stuff, they get this stuff pre-release, or some are way more blatant than others, and I'm desperately trying not to name names because I don't want to start any kind of bad feeling, but there are some out there. Whereas shows like yours and and Nick's and ours as well. I mean, obviously Nick has a sponsor. That's fine. They pay him money to advertise on a show that gets seen by a lot of people. We don't have sponsors. I don't think you have any sponsors on your show, and we just do this kind of for the love of doing it. There's no bias. We hate and love in equal measure. We'll say what we think. We're not worried about pissing any manufacturer off. And I think the audience appreciates that, and I think that's something that comes across quite well out of all of these kind of shows. So
yeah. I think it's a good point, Robbie, that you'll hear me say, even recently when about advertising bias, was when that Machina Plus came out from Native Instruments.
Yeah.
And I mean, we as users of music hardware, we all know, we hear rumors, we know things are coming out. I knew about the Machina Plus probably from pre-NAMM, slightly before NAMM. We knew that they were doing it. And when the videos were launched, you can just watch the YouTube homepage and you see all your usual YouTubers that get gear in months before to have a play with it, so they can get their videos prepared, and they wait for the NDA date, and then bang, you just see like a massive launch of videos, and they're all happening within minutes of each other. And then you go watch them, and it's just like watching a commercial.
Yep.
And all I want them to do, if I can ever give them any advice at all, is please stop being like a commercial. Think like a musician. People are going to buy these products because they're musicians. Be a musician, be analytical, be honest, and stop worrying about where your next paycheck's going to come from with these manufacturers, because they'll come and go.
But a lot of these guys and girls even are. This is kind of their living. This is kind of their living. They've kind of fully invested in doing these videos, and we all know it takes a heck of a lot of work to do a live video. It takes a lot of work to do a pre-recorded compiled video. If you look at the stuff that some people do, and again, I'm not going to name names, that there's a huge amount of thought and effort and production value has gone into that stuff. So I appreciate that. But they've now put themselves in a position where they've got to kind of keep the big boys happy, the ones that are sending them this gear months in advance, or asking them to do tutorials and things. unfortunately, to strike the balance between lack of bias and professionalism, and to get the numbers and the viewers for them to keep sending you that stuff so you can keep making the videos to get the ad revenue. It's this kind of constant circle that once you're in, it's very difficult to kind of get out of that. And we don't do it for the money. You don't do it for the money. We don't make anything off of this. We just do it because we're fans of these kinds of things. Guys,
I feel that trap as well.
Yeah,
I feel that being a YouTuber, I do get into that trap where people, kind of, it's almost like you're being drawn into, I have to do a video this week, or because otherwise the YouTube algorithm won't show the graph. I don't want to be that person. I want to do what I want to do when I'm feeling right. And sometimes, you guys know a bit about my history. Sometimes I don't feel right, so I'll have some quiet weeks, or quiet months even. I think we just need to be ourselves. That's the truth, and people will either love us or hate us, and that's the world we live in. As opposed to feeding some sort of corporate greed machine.
I mean, I've been accused of being a corporate shill at times because I went through a spate of doing a lot of reviews for one particular company because they were throwing their stuff at me because they liked what I did, and so I was doing these reviews, and because I liked what they did, the reviews were always positive and glowing, or mostly. I would criticise things here and there, but mostly it was like, this is really good because it was really good. But because I was doing a number of them, then people saying, I saw comments on KVR and Synthtopia and other places that saying, that failed Newso guy, he's just the paid shill of this company or that company. I'm like, I wish. Yes, all right, I get an NFR, a bit of software, but it's of no value to me, and I don't have time to make a huge amount of music anymore, unfortunately, and so it's of no benefit. I just enjoy playing with this stuff and talking about it. I don't get paid for this, but you fall into that trap. Sorry, Cryss, I interrupted, mate.
Oh yeah, well, just saying that there is a great service that if somebody can kind of walk that balance and be a person that's well known enough that companies will send you gear, and yet be able to do the kind of critical reviews. And some of them are not quite in that spot, but you still get stuff out of it because they'll go through and they'll walk through the synthesizer or whatever it is, and it's good. And then other people can feel free to be a little more critical about the things that they get. And I think those are very valuable. Like when you can still get stuff, but you can be critical about it as well, and show both sides of it. I mean, like you were saying, Robbie, like we talk good and bad about everybody. I mean, there's nothing sacred here. We talk good and bad about Moog or Behringer or Sequential or whatever. But we're also not being sent a whole lot of stuff.
We're not being sent any, I don't think. But I mean, it's funny because I've had two experiences where I've been called out for bias by some fairly well-known people in the industry. Actually, do you remember when I did that? I've ever been on my channel, but I did a side-by-side comparison of the Behringer MS-101 and the SH-101, and Behringer were great, or should I say Midas were great back in the January before that thing came out. They sent me one, and Simon Alexander said, hey, I've got a red SH-101, wouldn't it be great if you could do a side-by-side? So I did this side-by-side, I put it out there, and a very famous software developer, whose name I shan't mention, posted this video. He clearly got the hump with Behringer, and he was saying, Behringer are paying this guy, me, to do a side-by-side comparison of their rip-off of a Roland product with the Roland product is being ripped off. And of course, all of his fans chimed in, and I'm like, I didn't realise because I don't follow this guy on Facebook, and they pointed it out to me. So I go in there and I said, look, would you please stop saying stuff that isn't true, and this is why, and I explained very politely, and he wouldn't have it. He was just digging in, and eventually I just said, look, if you don't stop, the lawyers are coming in. It's as simple as that. And I would have done something because he was besmirching my character and my name, and he stopped and he pulled the offending post. But it's, come on, I'm nobody. I don't get paid shit from anyone to say anything about anything, and none of us do. We're just doing it for the love.
I think Luke Pop, Ziv, he's kind of got it right, because he gets the stuff sent to him, but he doesn't do like an objective review of it. It's more of a manual. So he kind of just like goes through the features of the thing, so nobody could accuse him of being biased in any way. He's just pointing out what it does and what it doesn't do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of working around that, because you have got to please the manufacturers to keep getting the stuff. But obviously, if everything's just going to be a glowing review, then nobody's going to trust you.
No.
So,
but what happens if everything that you look at and play with is actually really good? I mean, another case in point, and I had to laugh when you were talking there. Thankfully, it was off camera. But Wagyu says, "You're a proven shill, Robbie, for Behringer, because I was in Uli's birthday video, and yeah, I was." But that's a whole other. I was, all right. Okay.
Right next to him.
I'll never live that one down. Again, I was trying at some point about a year or two ago. I thought, I'm going to make a real effort with this and see if I can produce more videos and maybe start building up a little bit of interest. And I reached out to Roland, and they just released the JP08, and I thought, this is great. I've always wanted one of these, and this is, So I got in touch with their UK people, and I said, is there any chance you can supply me with a review unit? And they came back almost straight away and said, yeah, absolutely. Whoa. So it comes in, and I do this review, and of course I'm old-fashioned. I like to do, I write. I'm a writer. That's what I do. So my review is a written review, and it was scathing because I really didn't like this thing. Like the fact that it was 4-voice, not 8-voice, the fact that there was an awful hum on the USB, the fact that the controls were really tiny, and etc., etc., etc. What's the point of having a speaker, for crying out loud? And I put all of this in. I did it, respectfully, politely, professionally. Never heard from them again, ever. And I wonder why.
Well, yeah.
Yet there are companies out there, small developers, sample library developers, big software companies, that do get in touch whenever they release something new and say, if you want something for review, just drop us a line and you can have it. And so, it's all over the place, but
it's never affected Clarkson, has it?
I was just going to say, on this kind of topic, this kind of happened to me recently, and I kind of feel with what Robbie was talking about. So during the week, you guys probably would have read an article about the Behringer System 100 dual VCO module having tuning issues,
yes.
Right? You guys. So for some people, you guys have just found out about this. And for others, like me, because I've had the module since almost like one of the first shipments that came out. And I did a video on it within about 2 or 3 days of getting this. And if you ever watch that video, you can sort of see me as time goes on. I'm discovering stuff during the video. And it was almost like, holy shit, this is not good. What's happening here? You can see it in my face, and I'm trying, at the same time, I'm not trying to sort of let it be known. But, I identified there was tuning issues back in July, and then I sent Behringer a support ticket, I think about 3 or 4 days later, and their response that came back to me was very disappointing, actually. It was basically, we can't help you with calibration procedures, and we're not really aware of anything else. We're going to pass this on to our developers. And then, I mean, here I am. I'm a paying customer. I've got a problem with their product. I would have expected to hear something back. So I kind of just let it go and was hoping within a week, maybe 2 weeks. How long do we have to wait? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Eventually, I kind of forgot about it. And then Tim produces this video in the last week or so, where he's gone off and spoken to Behringer, and they've actually identified there's a tuning issue, and they've gone back to the factory, and they've decided to redo the circuitry. They've decided to release a tuning calibration procedure. These were all the things that I was asking back in July. So what kind of peeved me off is, why do some people get nothing against Tim because he's a good guy, but why do some people get the answer and other people don't? I mean, it's not like, you know, he's got more YouTube presence than me. It's nothing to do with any of that because I know that's not the fact. But it was just kind of weird. And then, so I actually had a quick chat to Behringer about this and sent them off kind of a bit of a ranty email using the same ticket number that they gave me back at late July. And the guy did get back to me, which was surprising. And basically where it's at the moment is they're looking into sending me perhaps another replacement module. Now, I bought that module through Gear for Music in the UK because I couldn't get them through the distributor in Australia because let's not even go there. That's a completely another rant. And yeah, I kind of find this stuff weird. So, you know, we, when I say we, I'm talking about all you guys here. We are the actual real users. We're not getting free Behringer modules. We're not getting free Moog ones. Like, you know, Cryss just talked about just paying it off over nearly 18 months. You know, like we are the true users of these musical instruments. We don't buy them to make a video. We buy them because we want to make music with them. And we have a problem with it. I would expect that same sort of thing that Tim got, but back in like late July, early August. That's what I would expected from them. They didn't do it. Even Jamie, you had Jamie on last week, you know. Yeah. He actually emailed them when he got his module. He got his module about a month or so after me, and they actually sent him a tuning calibration procedure. So it's all over the shop. Yeah. What people are getting. So I just thought I'd mention that because it's kind of it gives you an insight to know that we. I mean, YouTubers aren't getting any special treatment. We're not like getting free modules. You know, do you know what I mean? Like it just sort of puts it into reality. We're just the same as everyone else. Well, I am anyway. Yeah. I don't know whether it's because I live in the bottom end of the earth and that people just want me to go away and shut up. I don't know. But
customer service is customer service. Whether you're a YouTube guy or whether you're just a regular user or whatever, you know, customer service is customer service. If you've paid money and something's not right, you should get the same level of service provided to you that anybody else would. Now, we all know that music technology companies have a roster of artists who will get the most preferential treatment because it benefits them to do that. But then there is also, I guess, there are a team of people in every company that look online, they look at social media, they look at YouTube, and they see which of these guys is getting the best hits, which of them is making the most preferable videos in our favour or whatever. Those are the guys that we all look to. But those guys and girls will change from week to week or month to month. You know, this guy, I mean, we could be the darling of one company one month, and then the next month that we're not because our numbers aren't great. It's not personal. It's just you know, they've got to think smart, I guess. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, and we could talk for ages about all of this. But listen, if you haven't already checked out Ranzee's show, it airs at 3 p.m. UK time, which is going to be somewhere in the morning, early morning on the west coast of the US, and kind of mid-morning on the east coast. And in Australia, that is what's that evening? It's your evening, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 10 p.m. On the west coast of Australia, and it's actually like midnight in the Sydney sort of area, east coast. Yeah, but that'll change soon because towards the end of October, I think we have daylight savings kicking in.
Of course, yeah.
And as a result of that, there's a lot of places in Australia that either drop an hour or gain an hour.
Yeah.
Where I live, we actually don't follow daylight savings. Yeah. So it's so very previous years I've adjusted the time of the show because I don't know if you noticed, but on my ads I always put 2 p.m. UTC. Yeah. Because that's the true time. Yeah. That doesn't follow daylight savings, and if I keep it at 2 p.m. UTC, it may mean that you guys will probably have a 2 p.m. UK time coming up at, I guess, towards the end of October, right? For you guys. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there may be a time change, and I'm trying to work out whether I would keep it at 3 p.m. because like I said in previous years, I changed it and it kind of threw people. But
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? If I'd make it.
We haven't discussed it, but I'm pretty much of the opinion we should just stick with what we do. I mean, we change about a week after or a week before the US. I can't remember which, because it's like when they put their clocks forward an hour, they do it like a week before we do, and when they put it back, they do it like a week before we do, or something. It's odd because it screws things up at my work, because I work for an American company and everybody gets their meetings wrong. So I think we'll probably just stick, like you say, because it's less confusing, I guess, for everyone. And just hope that everyone kind of we'll tell them about it and hope that they stick with it and just use social media to make awareness there. But anyway, it's 2 p.m. UTC. So if you use Universal Time Code or GMT or whatever, it's 2 p.m. on a Saturday. And it's Ranzee is the name of the channel. Also, you have this website as well, which I was flicking through, which is a really nice designed website with all of the streams, and you can leave comments and get in touch and all sorts of wonderful stuff there. That's just very simply ranzee.com. So please go and visit and show Ranz your support, because he supports us and we'd like to do the same back. So let's round off. We've got about 10 minutes or so. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying thanks.
Okay. No, you're more than welcome. So we've got about 10 minutes or so before we need to go. So I think now's the time to discuss what's coming up next week, because we don't normally do this, but we have a very special event. As Ben cracks open another Guinness and hopefully doesn't spill it over his keyboard. There he goes. Look. So next week is Synthfest UK Virtual, or the virtual event, whatever you want to call it. And we spoke about this last week, and next weekend was supposed to be the physical show where we could all go and mingle and give each other lots of germs and hopefully not catch anything nasty. I've 4 years and I'm still clean, but it's sorely missed, as all of the shows have been or will be for the foreseeable future. But they've gone online. They said they weren't going to do it, and now they've changed their mind, and they've been inundated. I was speaking to the co-owner of Sound on Sound. He says he's just up to his ears in trying to get everything sorted, because manufacturers, retailers, live streamers are all doing stuff, and Jamie's doing this big thing between 2 and 10 p.m. on the Saturday the 10th, which I think I'm going to be doing something, and we haven't spoken about it since we kind of agreed to do something, and then that's it. So that's all we know. However, we have decided that we're going to do a show, and we're just going to do it so that it kind of coincides. It's nothing too special, but what we decided was that when you go to Synthfest, in the physical event, there are obviously lots and lots of stands, and you can go around. It's very noisy, but you can also go downstairs and attend seminars and panel discussions. So we thought, well, why don't we do a panel discussion? We do that at the end of this virtual Synthfest, because we'll do it on the Sunday evening. So we decided to put something together, and we're going to be discussing the future of synthesis. Fairly broad topic, it can go anywhere, and we're going to have Simon Alexander join us from his, I've got to do it, Infinite Synth Cave. I've got that reverb. I'm going to MIDI that up something, so I'll just press it and do it. So yeah, Simon's going to join us from his Infinite Synth Cave next week, and we are going to talk about the future of synthesis. There'll be no news topics. There'll be nothing else. It'll just be a 4-up shot like this, and we're just going to discuss the future of synthesis. Where do we see it going? What technologies might we like to see? What's going to happen? What should manufacturers do? Form factors, technologies. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that, and it's going to be a really open discussion, and it's just going to be kind of like that rounding off thing at the end of this kind of virtual event. So that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be running the same time, 8 p.m. UK time, so that's 3 p.m. East Coast and midday West Coast. Please join us. Same channel, and we've already got the show up on the channel, so you can go to the Synth Network YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel first, and then hit the reminder for the show, and you'll get a reminder of that. So same time, same place next week, but we will be doing this panel discussion, and we fully expect everybody in the chat room to contribute to that discussion as well. We've not really got anything planned. I'm going to kind of write down a few deliberation points and throw those in, but the rest of it is just going to be kind of open discussion. Give us questions, give us your suggestions. That's all it's going to be. So there you go. Synthfest UK 2020, the virtual event. We'll be rounding off that on the Sunday right here on this channel. But obviously, go and visit Jamie's channel from 2 p.m. on the Saturday for live streaming, lots of other things. And the way I understand the website's going to work is that it's going to be like, you pick and choose where you want to go. If you want to look at new equipment, go and buy stuff with special offers. You just kind of pick and choose where you want to go, rather than it being a curated session of videos or events. So it's just kind of like a free-for-all. Go in there. Synthfest.co.uk is the address, but of course, if you want to watch our show, it's this place where you're at now. Okay, so there we go. Just wanted to get that one in there. One last little news topic that the guys brought up. I think was it Ben? Was it you that brought this one up? The Wave Rex.
No, it wasn't me.
Or was that you, Cryss? Who brought that? Somebody brought this up. Oh no, I think it was one of our users on the Facebook page. Anyway, as you know, I like my vintage gear, and because a lot of it is vintage digital, it has memory cards and storage stuff. And so this was interesting. I don't have an M1 or a Wavestation, but if you do, there's a company in Germany that are building new PCM cards that you can store your own PCM samples or single cycle waveforms on. And basically the way it works, you can see in that picture there. So you've got the standard Korg card connector on the end there, but on the other side there's a small USB connection. You plug that into your computer, and then you can upload your own content onto that card, stick it into your M1 or your Wavestation, depending on which one you've chosen, and you can then use those samples and waves in your old M1 and Wavestation. So any thoughts on this?
It's a great idea. I would love to see the same thing done with rolling gear.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you could, like, the old ROM cartridge slot you used to have. If you could, like, put your own samples into that, it breathed new life into, like, any PCM based synth. So it's a cracking idea. I just wish I hadn't have sold me M1R because I can't benefit from it. Okay, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for keeping talking there. I was like, I'll go over the other side. So,
I'd run out of things to say. I just kept it going until you came back.
Top effort, sterling job, mate. I just went and grabbed this out of my SY22. So this is a data blade, which is made by a company called Sector 101 over in Northern Ireland, and this is kind of similar to the cartridges I use on other synths, in that it is multiple cards on one card, and you've got a little selector, as you can see just there, that you turn around 16 positions, so you can have 16 cards on one, and you've got a little LED display that kind of shows you what you're going on there. Has a little battery in the back to store stuff, and it's multi-format, so you can use this on SYs, TGs, RM, the drum, is it the RM drum machine or the sequencer? I can't remember. But yeah, and that's like £120, but it's 16 of those cards. If you go on eBay and buy those cards, they're about £60-70 a shot. So it saves you a lot of money in the long term. And I just think this kind of technology that keeps these old things alive, and actually, in the case of the Wave Rex, it brings new life into them, because you can now upload your own content into these really old synthesizers. So it's available for the M1, the M1R, the M3R, the T series, and the Wavestation. It emulates the PCM card, so it's not actually a passive memory card. There's an ARM MCU on board, and it reads and copies all sounds and waveforms from the DSS, the DSM, MS2000. There's all sorts of good stuff going on there. So, yeah, and it's just, I think it's a really, really cool little thing to breathe new life into old technology. What do you think, Cryss?
I think it's great. With synthesizers, especially once you get up into the mid '80s and later, there's a lot of these little technical things that can be lost to time. I know you've talked about retrofitting Fairlights with different types of drives and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, I haven't really had that problem. So, with guitar amplifiers, I have had a lot of 60s and a few 70s amplifiers that have needed to be gone over, and so you got to replace filter caps and things like that you would normally do to vintage synthesizers as well, or retune and things like that. But it's generally a pretty straightforward affair. I'm glad I'm not having to work with different codes and stuff on there. So, yeah, if you can keep some of these classics alive and make them more useful, I'm all for it.
Exactly, it just offers a new realm of tech, or performance that you can use on this old technology. I think it's just great that somebody's come up with a way to get new waveforms into an old synth, that you previously wouldn't have thought of being able to do. Ranz, do you have anything like this, that would benefit from I don't know if you've got an M1 or anything like that?
I don't have an M1. I've got a few vintage bits of gear that I think there's a little market. Like you've just hit the nail on the head. There's a market for this because we want to keep hold of our vintage gear and keep it running. And for example, DX7 cartridges. Someone should make a DX7 cartridge that literally is one cartridge you leave in there, and it's got, you can just go into some sort of little menu and it would swap all the DX7 cartridges that were ever made. I know you can do SysX and all that sort of stuff, but it's a different sort of beast, isn't it, if you're playing with the cartridges? Because the actual synthesizer itself has been designed to use the cartridge. So,
yeah,
let's do that. My Roland MKS70, just sitting in the rack behind me, has a cartridge in it. That'd be good if that had something on it. And even more recent technology, like I've got a Korg Electrive ES1, which was the first sampler Electrive they brought out. Mm-hmm. And that uses the old memory cards, and they're like they don't even make them anymore. So to put samples on that, I'm lucky I've got a memory card for it because I bought it before they stopped making them. But even getting a card reader to read that old memory card, the technology's dropped completely. So I reckon there's plenty of examples we could come up with where someone could do emulated type cards. Now, I know that there are some out there for some bits of gear, but there's not for every. And, we're talking the mainstreams, Roland, Yamaha, Korg, they're mainstream manufacturers. So, and even if you've got like a bit of gear like that's got like the floppy drive in it, the old 3.5-inch floppy drive, you can get the GoTech drives now. So those floppy drives mechanically fail. So it's another thing that you could do. I'm trying to think of an example that I've got. So my DX7 II is a floppy drive edition. So that luckily for me, my floppy drive still works. But if that ever goes, the GoTech will go in there. I come from I told you guys I do IT, so I'm a bit of a vintage computer sort of nerd as well, and I've got Commodore 64s, Commodore Amigas. So one of the things that I did with my Amiga, got two Amigas, I've got an Amiga 1200, is I put the SD card hack in there so that literally my Amiga is like modernized, and I've got massive amount of stuff on there. I don't even have to touch, a computer now. But, that sort of theory with a synth would be awesome. And Robbie's been busy going and getting stuff, so I'm guessing he's going to show me something based on what I just said.
So we plugged in a different type last week. This is from Synth Square in Milan. This is a DX7, DX5, DX1, RX11 cart, but it's 16 carts on one cart with 2 banks per cart, if you will. So you just load them all up, and then you just twist the dial, and the voices are there, and you can just either bring them into the DX7 or just play them straight off the cartridge. So those are around. And of course, the H card ones are even more higher capacity with little button presses on and stuff. In my Z1, you can't buy the cards anymore, but you can get the SysX. So I've got a little PCMCIA adapter that goes in the back of the Z1, which has an SD card in there with all of the extra Z1 banks that I've got on there. Synth Sector 101. That's an original. That took me ages to find one of those for my Prophecy to store all the extra models and stuff on. And then I've got... That's a compact flash card, which is from my Fusion. Also my Akai MPCs. I've got some with those on. Do you remember these? These memory cards?
Yeah, that's the thing in the Korg that I was talking about.
Yeah, so that's on my CS6X that stores... In fact, it's got a complete set of sounds for that.
So you can't get those anymore?
No, you can't. This one, I was lucky, really lucky, that the guy that sold this to me still had this original one. And I've got one somewhere from an old digital camera that I had back in like the late 90s, I think it was. So I've got a spare there. But yeah, I mean, there is a market, but it's the guys that make stuff like this, that is new technology using new stuff and giving you way more on top. And that's what these Waverex things. It's giving you new features, new capabilities or enhanced capabilities. I think it's great that and I think we use SCSI to SD on. I mean, I've got one on my S6000, but it's what we use in Fairlights now. It's just so much better because the damn great hard drives in those are awful. So we just shove a SCSI to SD in there, and it reduces the noise and the heat, and it's fantastic. But
the SCSI disk protocol was actually superior to IDE in the day. So when you're talking computer file transfer, the reason that Fairlight had SCSI in it was actually probably really smart on their behalf of not using some sort of IDE based drive. And then if you look at the way that's progressed through to today, we've got like memory card basically in terms of computer storage. It actually probably would be easier for them to do a SCSI to SD card, because it would actually probably have a faster data transfer than if it was an IDE. You'd have to have something in between to slow everything down.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we sometimes come across with the Fairlights is people they get the Series 3 Fairlight with this SCSI to SD drive in there, and they say it's a bit slow, isn't it? And it's the bus speed. It's you can't get past the inherent bus speed of the Fairlight, which was just I think SCSI 1. It doesn't matter how fast you're whether because they use these tiny little micro SD cards and they're class 10s or whatever. And it doesn't matter how fast they are. The bus speed is the bus speed is the bus speed, and there's just no way you're going to get around that. But again, it's just I love the fact that there are people out there that are using these little Arduino chips or Teensy chips or even Raspberry Pis to come up with modern solutions for old storage and increasing the lifetime of these things. But you don't see synths with memory card slots on anymore, do you? It's all USB nowadays.
Well, you see the SDs. You see the SDs.
Oh yeah, you get the SD cards. On certain things.
And you see Electrons still do compact flash.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
that TR6S has got a little SD card thing on the slot. But
so my Octatrack has got a compact flash on it, which I thought was quite weird.
Yeah,
because it's a Mark II, so it's not that old.
No,
in terms of tech. And I thought they would have put an SD because the original Mark I had a compact flash in it, and I thought, okay, they're going to bring the Mark II out, they'll put an SD in it, but they didn't. They stuck with the compact flash, and apparently there's a good reason for it. Apparently the compact flash technology is better at file I/O than an SD card is. No matter how big these cards get in terms of size and storage, the actual file transfer, that compact flash technology acts more reliably like a hard drive.
Yeah,
technically. So food for thought.
I'm sure there was definitely a good reason for doing it.
I'm still doing lots of analog data transfer with one of these.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, no, I like this Waverex. I mean, it's yeah, it's just a really cool idea that somebody's put into place, and I don't know how much they are. Where are we? Here's a shot. Let's have a look. This all might be fantastic, but it might cost an absolute arm and a leg. Oh, look, you get a little case and the cable with it. Oh, that's not awful, is it? It's €219, which, when you think about what you could save, and they also do a Profit VS.
I was hoping
cartridge
for half of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a Profit VS cartridge for $199 and an MC256, which is for the Rolands, for $150. But it's just, I think it's great to see these little businesses. They're all just like 1 or 2 man bands that make this stuff at home. I know that Stefano, who does these little DX cartridges, he hand solders these all at home, and yeah, it's very well made, good stuff.
I'd say the pricing on those is commensurate to the amount of volume that they'd sell. Like,
yeah,
if that was mainstream, everyone wanted one, then you probably would find €100 product.
Yeah.
But because it's very, very niche, it's got a niche price.
Yeah, I mean, these Synth Square ones are €125 each, roughly. But when you think about, it stores 32 cartridges. Sorry, 16 cartridges times 2 banks of each. So if you went out and bought 16 DX7 original DX7 RAM carts to give you this capacity, you $2,500 or something like that. It's second-hand prices.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. So it really is. It seems like a lot, but when you think about what you get for it, is I've got to go and put all these back into their various machines. I shall do that after the show. So I don't want to keep you up any later than is necessary. It's just 12 minutes past 5 in the morning.
Oh, it's almost time for me to get up.
I was going to say,
start a new day anyway.
Have some brekkie and into work.
I'll just drink coffee today.
Yeah. Well, look, mate, we genuinely appreciate you doing this. We won't ask you to do it again for a little while. We'll give you some time off, but please, if you can, do come back at some point. Ranz, thanks ever so much.
It's easy to do it when I've got school holidays at the moment, because I've got kids. So right now it's school holidays, and so that means that I don't have to tomorrow morning. I don't have to ship kids off to school early in the morning and things like that. So, well, now, pretty much.
No,
so
cool.
I mean, within about 45 minutes, the alarm would have been going off on a school morning, and I'd be up helping getting all the kids out for school. So I can do it during that, but during school weeks, it's going to be impossible. I think.
Well, we timed it well this time, so maybe we'll try and get everything aligned, and we'll get you on at some point. But thanks ever so much for staying up. And if you don't already know, Ranz's show is on a Saturday, 2 p.m. UTC. So whatever that works out at, you can Google that nowadays. Really easy. Every Saturday. Please do go and watch his show and join in through the chat room and have some fun. Cryss, thank you for joining us. I know you've been a busy guy today because you've been on 2 shows this evening. What have you got lined up for this week? Anything interesting, fun?
Oh, first I think I might take a nap for both Ranz and myself. I don't know if it'll help him, but
it'll make you feel better.
Yeah, no, just doing. I've sent the Prophet 6 back, so I've got some editing to do on a couple of videos, and so I'm having fun with that, and been trying to make some music. Just take a little break from making presets and have some fun, make some music, get some plugins, do fun stuff. So
cool.
Yeah,
excellent.
That's what I'm up to.
Good. Ben, anything lined up for the next 7 days?
Basically just working on new stuff for the band. Once this studio's finalised, then I'm going to be building up a new set to take out live, and that's going to be what I'm basically doing now till the end of lockdown, really.
Yeah, whenever that might be.
Working on that.
It seems to be getting worse, doesn't it? They seem to be locking down more here and there and everywhere, so... not great. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, I've got a new arrival. Fingers crossed. I'm not going to say anything because people. Oh, go. Yeah.
Unboxing. Shall we do it?
Go on then. I always like a good unboxing. What's in the bag? What's in
Live
the bag? What's in the
unboxing.
bag?
So those who watched my show on Saturday would have heard me rant about. I can't actually show this yet because there's addresses written all over it. I won't show you the box that's wrapped, but I'll show you the box that's inside the box. Okay, here we go. You can hear me unwrapping it, right? So do you remember me ranting about how there was something posted from New Zealand to Australia, and I kind of gave you guys the similarity
Sydney for like
between
2 weeks.
posting something from Ireland to the UK type thing. It was stuck in Sydney for a month. Anyway, it's finally arrived, and if I can get all the plastic off, here we go. Hey.
Oh, what's that?
Ah.
It's a module of some sort. System.
It's a System 500. Was upside down? Sorry, System 500, second hand, and it's all stuck with sticky tape. Damn it. System 500. This is a VCA, I think, the 530 module. Let me just get it out anyway. But you guys, always good to unbox something. This is second hand. I bought this for probably about £150 if I was to equate it, which is not bad. I haven't even tried it yet, obviously, so it might not even work.
This could all end in tears. It could all be in pieces.
Oh, screw fell out.
Doesn't
matter, I've got plenty of those. That's what the module looks like.
Very nice.
Is that upside down?
No, that's
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that focusing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it.
So it's a dual VCA. This is the Moleco. Roland outsourced this to a company called Moleco who make Eurorack modules. This is the System 500, but it's actually really a System 100 clone, if anything. You can, if you ever get into Eurorack, guys, you can never have enough of these VCAs. These things are like your little sort of toolbox for anything. Chris, you were showing your audio cable before, right?
Yeah.
This is basically the equivalent of having control over that audio cable in your Eurorack. All the things that you can do with this. So, why am I getting this? And I've got the Roland, the Behringer System 100 stuff at the same time. I absolutely love the sound of the System 100. If I could actually get my hands on an original, I'd be there with bells on. It's almost the pinnacle of that Roland era with the analog sound. It's so good. And the fact that it's in a little modular sort of setup means that you can now marry it with a whole bunch of other gear that you've got, whether it be in your Eurorack or outside via CV or even via MIDI to CV. So it's really, really cool fun. But yeah, that one I picked up new. So yeah, a little bit of unboxing for you. There you go.
Yeah, like that. Now,
Very nice.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to resist opening my box when it hopefully gets here on tomorrow or Tuesday. I keep checking. I'm terrible. Now that we've got apps on our phones that link up to all the tracking services and shipping services, I'm like forever just like I've almost got like on my home screen just like a shortcut goes straight in and check where is it now? It's it's now moved from this warehouse to that warehouse. So I'm not going to be able to resist holding back on opening that one. But it's I think I worked it out yesterday. I think it's the most I've spent on a single synthesizer ever. Now I know that you look around here and you think, well, blimey, how much is this? I'm very financially astute and I buy these things at very good prices, or I kill people and take them off them. But some of them, I must admit, have been gifted. However, this is the most that I personally have individually spent on a single synthesizer in my life, I believe. And I'm so excited. And I'll show it to you next week. Or maybe even play some to you next week. It's a rarity. But it's.
I've got a feeling it's digital.
Not gonna say. I wonder why. What gives that away? Yeah.
Well, that was an easy guess, wasn't it?
It is. Yeah. Well, okay. I think most people can probably guess the family that it belongs to. But yeah,
right.
You notice in the view that we have here that the one analog that he has is tucked all the way up in the corner, and you only see a little edge of it.
Yeah. Just it's just that little nod to the analog world. Yeah, I do. No, seriously, I would. If I could afford a Prophet 5, I'd be right in there. But no, digital's my thing. But this is super digital. I mean, this is pinnacle of digital stuff. This is, I can't wait. I really can't. Anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing all of next week, is waiting for this thing and then playing with this thing. So I should be having lots of fun. Anyway, guys, thanks ever so much to Ranz for getting up at stupid o'clock in the morning. For Ben for just being there as normal with his proper microphone, and for Cryss for doing 2 shows and actually coming on ours as well. It's most appreciated. We will see you same time, same place next week. Of course, it is Synthfest UK all weekend, so please go to synthfest.co.uk or look for the hashtag Synthfest or hashtag Synthfest UK on social media, and you'll get alerts and what have you to all the different things that are going on. Jamie's doing this big show on the Saturday. We're doing this show at our regular time on the Sunday, and there's loads of stuff that will be on the Synthfest website over that whole weekend for 48 hours. So please do go and visit and avail yourselves of much goodness over there. And we will see you same time, same place next week. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye-bye.